Hey friends, Sunday again, another chance to talk about John's Revelation. This week, chapter 6, with this business of the four horsemen of the apocalypse. Now, one of the problems we have with John's Revelation and with reading prophecy in general is this question of like when we get to the future, like at what point is John speaking about things that are going to happen versus describing our world using the lens of the Old Testament and the vision, the understanding of Jesus to reflect light on our present world. And it's a tough question to answer. And many people, I think, get confused because they get to sections like the section on the four horsemen and they begin thinking this is about the futurist, things that are going to happen. But if you look at the horsemen, you realize that they're here among us right now, that they've been here among us. There's this red horse who represents war. When has there not been war in our world? And then there's this black horse representing famine. When has there not been starvation and famine in our world? And then there's this dappled or pale or green horse representing plague. When has there not been plague in our world? And then, of course, the beginning is this white horse who later in John's Revelation is revealed to be Jesus. And when has the offer of God's salvation not been on offer to the world? So you see, when you see the four horsemen in light of history, which is really what chapter 6 is about, it's about history, you realize that there has never been a time when there was not war and famine and plague and the offer of salvation from God. There's never been a time when this wasn't the case. And the mind shift that I think we really do need to understand how John and how the New Testament authors view things, is that for them, the end times are not coming in the future. The end times began with the resurrection of Jesus. Like the moment Jesus came back from the dead on Easter Sunday in or about AD 33, at that time, the end times began, and we've been living in that age of the end times since then. For the past 2,000 years, we've been living in the end times. And so when the Bible is making statements about what's to come, sometimes it's talking about describing our world and why you shouldn't trust in its power or its wealth or in your health. Even the earthquake at the end of this chapter is saying you shouldn't trust in the stability of the earth. God is going to shake all things, and there are earthquakes all the time as we go. So the business of living in the end times is where we are as a Christian people. We are and have been in the end times since the resurrection of Jesus. It's not a thing that's coming in the future. Now, I think there are points in John's Revelation that come to what's happening in the future. They point to things that are coming, things that are about to happen. And when I get to those, I'll try and mention them. But the main thing we have to shift our thinking on is to say, when is John pointing to the future and when is he describing the reality of our world? And here, chapter 6, this scroll that seems to represent God's case against humanity, God's judgment of the earth, shows us a description of our world as it is, not as it's going to become. All right, so this is one of the maybe more confusing elements that people come to about, especially the word prophecy, which makes people think it's about telling the future. But prophecy, for most of the Old Testament, if you read it, is about speaking with God's voice to the present. And that's what John's doing here. He's speaking using the voice of God to the present. It's been a present that's been since John wrote this in about the 90s through all of church history to today. And that's one of the great reasons why John's Revelation is perhaps the most timeless book in the whole Bible is timeless, but it's especially timeless, and why it gives fruit in every generation. So I hope you found this helpful. Blessings this Sunday, and I'll talk to you again next week.